What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
Like, there's no reason to fly yourself into the remote southern Indian Ocean for any positive benefit, including even killing yourself.
And it seems like the majority of, I previously thought it was all of them, but I did find there were one or two who think maybe it was the pilot. But the majority of the families of the 239 people do not think that happened.
Right.
And we'll get to it later, but they also don't think that the evidence that was found is from the plane are real. They think it's planted, a lot of them.
Right.
But it seems like, and I'm trying to take myself back to that timeline, like then when it was happening. So I was actually living in Rome, in Italy at the time. And I remember this story, but right there at that time, this is when the whole Crimea thing was going on. Yeah. And that's what everyone was talking, at least in Europe, a little more. So I'm not as familiar with like the exact days, what was happening when, but like how long were they on that pilot theory before they then said, wait a minute, some weird shit happened here. We don't know if it's that.
Well, I think it's important to understand that the official search officials have never issued any kind of theory. I mean, implicitly, they think it went into the Southern Ocean because that's where they spent hundreds of millions of dollars in several years scanning the seabed. By the way, you asked about how MH370 and Air France 447 are alike. Air France 447 at the time was the most ambitious seabed search ever carried out. It was like 2 miles deep, and it took them 2 years to do it. MH370 then surpassed that. It took them 3 or 4 years, and it was 3 miles deep, and they wound up searching an area the size of Great Britain, a very huge area. So so implicitly they think that it went south, and implicitly it was probably only the pilot could really be on your suspect list.
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
But they've never said we think the pilot did it. And so we're in this weird kind of limbo where everybody wants to know what happened to the plane, and there is like, if you compare it to who shot JFK, since we're kind of like in this numinous realm of conspiracy theories, there's a Warren Commission. There's like an official account of what happened, and you can sort of anybody who isn't buying into the Warren Commission is a conspiracy theorist. But with MH370, right? With MH370, there is no official account, and with no official account, there's no like, you can't say, well, explain this, explain that. In the official report, they said we can't rule out anything really.
Yeah, there's the famous press conference where the guy came out and said, I think he said the exact words, like, it disappeared. We don't know where it is,
right,
or something like that. And I don't remember how many days in that was, but something, when you go back and watch the footage, it's very easy to have hindsight bias now that we're watching it. Like, obviously we know 10 years later we still haven't solved this,
right?
But still, there's something about the tone of how things were delivered that was so sinister. Yeah, it was sinister.
Well, it was sinister, but also like Pollyanna-ish in the same way where they were like, we know that the relatives are dead. We've done the math. I mean, this was the thing. For the first year and a half, all they had was this data that had been transmitted from this plane as the result of this box being turned on, and nobody could explain how or why this box would have been turned back on. And it seemed me, which struck me as quite uncanny. And so they were very confident and sort of, oh yeah, your relatives are dead. We did the math. And by the way, we've done the math and we know where this plane is and we're going to get it and we will find it. And we have the quote that I keep coming back to is, we have a bottle of Moet chilling in the fridge, or chilling nicely in the fridge or something. There was an incredible level of like, yes, we have this in hand. Don't you worry your pretty heads about it.
They said that? A bottle of Moet chilling in the fridge?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And for the most part, the media really bought into it. I mean, I think pretty much every mainstream outlet was like, okay, these guys are going to find this plane. Yeah, it's as good as solved.
Yeah, like you said, it was literally the largest rescue mission ever.
Yeah.
For a plane. I forget the number. Ashton had this right, but the number of countries who were involved, the number of boats that were involved, I don't remember them offhand, but it was nuts. So you think about it, and my head does go to, though, like they're searching the Indian Ocean. I forget the exact percentage, but like something like 90% of the ocean that we know exists, we haven't even explored.
Right.
So how possible is the explanation that, oh, well, the ocean is so deep and it's so mountainous down there that it fell into a crevice and no one will ever be able to find it?
So, yeah, that becomes the question. It's like we know that it went to this area, but then we search there and it's not there. So why isn't it there? And this is like a major goal of my podcast, is to kind of go through, okay, what are all the possible explanations? The sort of top level explanation might be, well, the ocean is big and the plane is small, so that's why you wouldn't find it. But I was talking earlier, scientists talk about error bars, right? Like, what is the probability distribution? Yes. And we know where this plane was. The arc is like plus or minus like 5 kilometers or something. It's like a couple of miles uncertainty. And so
that's not that much.
It's really not that much. And so it wound up on the 7th arc. The plane it's believed, based on the interpretation of what these signals meant, the assumption is that this plane had been out of fuel for about 3 minutes. And it was descending at, they have 2 data points, 9 seconds apart. And the first one, it was descending briskly. And then in the second one, it's like descending almost nose down. So like somebody has been pushing the plane like into a vertical dive. And so, and then there was another transmission that would have taken place like 90 seconds later that wasn't. So the plane was probably not in the air for 90 seconds after that. So it would have dived very brief. It would have taken about a minute for that plane to hit the water.
Assuming like a 30,000, 35,000 foot altitude?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so it gives you a very narrow band to look in. Actually, that band was searched really early on, but they just had to keep on making it bigger and bigger because it kept on not finding the plane. So why isn't it there? One explanation is that you mentioned maybe it fell into a crevice or something.
Sure.
And when they searched the seabed, they kind of scanned it back and forth. And like, I'm looking at your table now. It's like a picnic table that has cracks in it. Maybe the plane went to one of these cracks.
Right.
Now, percentage-wise, you would think that would be quite a stroke of luck, right? It just happened to turn out that way. And again, something that we see again and again in this case is like something happens and it was either just a stroke of luck, or is it because something else is going on? And so maybe it fell into a crack. They went back and they searched. They sent these little robot subs down and to look in as many of these little cracks and crevices as they could.
They didn't send James Cameron down?
I would be surprised if they didn't talk to James Cameron. I'm sure he popped up in a few conversations.
Yeah.
So that's one explanation, that it was in this defined area, but they just missed it for whatever reason. The officials themselves don't think that happened. The other possibility is that the plane went into this steep dive, and then the pilot thought, "Wait a minute, what am I doing? This is a terrible idea," and pulled it out and then glided it for like 50 miles. Not impossible, but again, one of these things.
Strictly by the physical projection of the plane at this point, no engine because he's out of fuel.
Correct. Right.
You could go 50 miles like that?
I mean, it is possible that you could get beyond the search area. Now, again, the question is, how likely is that? And then there's a third possibility, which is that it's hard to explain why, in simple terms, like why this is unlikely, but you could have done a series of turns and you could have wound up further north of the search area. And so when they called off the search, having spent a lot of taxpayer money searching this area unsuccessfully and having promised we're 97% confident we're going to find it. So they failed and they wrapped up. They said, look, we didn't fail. That's not really the right word. We just didn't succeed. And the reason is because the plane did this stuff that we assumed it didn't do, but I guess it must have done. And now it's north of where we looked. But we don't have any money, so goodbye and good luck.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.